Independent workshops across Queensland, Victoria, New South Wales, and Western Australia are breaking rank. Mechanics who have been servicing Australian families for 20 and 30 years are publicly warning buyers about specific vehicles in 2026. Not vague brand complaints, specific models, specific failure patterns, specific dollar amounts destroying household finances. One of the 8 vehicles on this list will cost you more to fix than it is currently worth. One requires the entire engine lifted from the chassis just to replace a turbocharger. $9,000 minimum. And the one sitting at number 1 is a luxury SUV selling for over $100,000 drive-away, with timing chain failures documented at 20,000 kilometers, mold growing in 3-month-old cabins, and Australian insurers refusing comprehensive cover on used examples entirely. 8 SUVs, ranked from concerning to absolutely brutal. Every figure comes from Australian independent workshop pricing, RACQ data, and documented motoring press reporting. Real numbers from real workshops in real Australian cities. Hit subscribe so this reaches every Aussie buyer considering one of these before they sign. Number 8. The Nissan Juke. The Juke CVT, Nissan's continuously variable transmission, is one of the most consistently failure-prone units in the compact SUV segment. Shuddering, whining, and outright failure arriving as early as 50,000 kilometers on vehicles serviced precisely to Nissan's own schedule. Here is what the dealer will not tell you. The CVT fluid needs replacing every 48,000 kilometers. The manual says 96. Owners following manufacturer advice are under-maintaining the component most likely to kill the car. By the time the shuddering starts, the warranty has expired. Replacement runs $4,000 to $6,000 on a Juke worth $12,000 to $15,000. The timing chain guides wear prematurely too. Mechanics call the cold start noise the death rattle. When you hear it, the clock is ticking. Ignore it, and you are driving toward engine destruction. Engine out repair runs $2,800 minimum. Combined with a CVT replacement, a single owner can face $7,000 in bills on a car listed for $15,000. Stay with me, because number 3 is one of the most extraordinary engineering failures in modern automotive history. A timing belt that runs in oil and destroys engines from the inside out. Number 7. The Volkswagen T-Roc. The T-Roc pairs 2 of VW's worst recent decisions in one body shell, the 1.5 TSI cylinder deactivation engine and the DQ200 dry clutch DSG transmission. When the engine switches between 2 and 4 cylinders, it develops oil consumption. Volkswagen calls acceptable at approximately half a litre per 1,000 kilometers. Australian mechanics call it engine destruction in slow motion. Cylinder scoring appears at 50,000 kilometers on vehicles serviced per VW's own schedule. Engine replacement runs upward of $6,500. The DQ200 compounds it. Shuddering, overheating, and mechatronic unit failures are documented consistently across Australian workshops. Transmission replacement runs $3,900 to $5,000. The same customers keep returning, which tells you the replacement does not fix the underlying problem. Number 6. The Fiat 500X. The 1.4-litre multi-air petrol is the engine Australian buyers actually get, and Australian mechanics have a name for it: Il Disastro. The direct injection system cannot wash the intake valves with fuel the way port injection does. Carbon builds up on every valve in the engine. Professional cleaning is required every 30,000 kilometers at $400 to $600 per visit, not once. Every 30,000 kilometers for the life of the car. Skip a clean and you are looking at misfires, power loss, and eventually scored cylinder walls. The multi-air valve actuation system adds another failure point. It uses hydraulic pressure to control valve lift and timing. When the hydraulic actuators fail, and they do, the repair bill runs upward of $2,800. The system is sensitive to oil quality and service intervals, which means the owners most likely to skip a service are the owners most likely to face the largest repair. Parts pricing compounds everything. The thermostat housing on the 500X comes as an integrated assembly and costs significantly more than the same job on a comparable European hatchback. 3-year-old examples are selling for well below half their original purchase price, with potential repair bills still outstanding. Number 5. The Renault Captur. The EDC dual-clutch transmission begins slipping at 30,000 kilometers and fails reliably by 60,000. Replacement runs upward of $4,000. Renault Australia regularly denies warranty claims on these failures, citing normal wear. Owners serviced exactly to schedule are being handed $4,000 bills on cars less than 2 years old. The 1.2 TC engine has a documented design defect, causing excessive oil consumption that led to class action litigation in France, affecting over 400,000 vehicles. That oil consumption clogs the timing chain lubrication jet, accelerating chain wear. It burns the turbocharger from the inside, and it does all of this on cars that have been serviced exactly as Renault instructed. Some Australian workshops have dedicated permanent service bays to the Captur because the return volume justifies the infrastructure. When a workshop builds a bay for your car, that is not a compliment to the engineering. Number 4. The Jeep Compass. ProCheck Automotive on the Sunshine Coast has formally named Jeep as one of 4 brands its staff will not recommend to customers. The 1.3 Firefly engine reaches 2 liters of oil consumption per 1,000 kilometers in documented examples. The variable valve timing system fails catastrophically, circulating metal particles through the engine. Replacement runs upward of $7,200. The 9-speed transmission fails without warning. Dealer software updates at $400, fix nothing. Hardware replacement runs $5,500 minimum. Some Australian Jeep workshops have replaced the same customer's transmission 3 times within the warranty period. Door handles fracture in normal use. Tailgates have opened spontaneously on the highway. Quick favour. If this protects an Australian family from a 5-figure mistake, tap the like button before we get to the top 3. That is where the genuinely brutal financial damage lives. Number 3. The Peugeot 3008. The 1.2 PureTech engine runs its timing belt in oil. By 40,000 kilometers, the rubber belt sheds microscopic particles into the oil system. Those particles coat bearings, block galleries, and destroy the engine from the inside. The damage is invisible until warning lights appear, at which point it is already done. When the belt snaps, valves meet pistons at high speed. The engine does not survive. Complete replacement runs upward of $5,200 on a vehicle worth roughly $17,000. The EAT8 transmission was supposed to be Peugeot's reliable choice. Torque converter shuddering is one of the most consistently reported faults on EAT8 units in Australian service. Replacement costs upward of $4,500. One Australian owner has been waiting since early 2024 for a throttle body, paying for a rental car the entire time. Number 2. The Range Rover Evoque. ProCheck Automotive has formally named Land Rover as one of its 4 brands it cannot recommend. Specialist workshops across Australia report that ingenium engine failure before 80,000 kilometres is one of the most common repair scenarios they see on 2016 to 2020 models. Timing chain stretch in the ingenium engine causes catastrophic valve damage when the chain jumps. Rebuilt engine replacement runs upward of $8,500 on a vehicle that may be worth less by the time it fails. Transmission replacement runs upward of $6,200. Brake pad replacement requires manufacturer-only software just to release the electronic parking brake, costing independent workshops $200 before any actual work begins. Water ingress is one of the most widely reported problems across the Evoque range, serious enough for Land Rover to issue a formal technical service bulletin and face class action litigation over windscreen sealing failures. Insurance companies now specifically exclude water damage on used Evoque policies. That exclusion is the industry's verdict. And number 1. The Range Rover Velar, currently selling in Australia for over $100,000 drive-away. Australian independent mechanics across every state have reached the same verdict. The Velar is the most expensive vehicle purchase mistake available in any Australian dealership in 2026. Ingenium timing chain failures are documented at 20,000 kilometers on vehicles, serviced exactly to Land Rover specification. The repair requires complete engine removal, 25 hours of specialist labor, $9,000 minimum. If valve damage has occurred, $15,000 for a complete replacement engine. The ZF9 speed transmission fails so regularly that some Australian Land Rover specialists keep replacement units in stock proactively. Replacement cost, upward of $7,500. One specialist has seen the same Velar 4 times for transmission failures across only 30,000 kilometers. The infotainment system fails persistently, $3,500 per screen. The air suspension compressor is a documented failure point, with moisture, ingress, and duty cycle wear causing faults that can appear well within the first few years of ownership, $2,200 each time. Australian insurers refuse comprehensive cover on used Velars entirely. Water ingress is guaranteed. Roof drains block immediately. Boot flooding destroys rear electronics. 3-month-old examples have arrived at workshops, with mold growing inside the cabin. And the depreciation. Approximately 45% of value lost within 3 years. A $120,000 Velar becomes worth approximately $66,000, assuming it still runs. That is number 1. Those are the 8. The Nissan Juke, the Volkswagen T-Roc, the Fiat 500X, the Renault Captur, the Jeep Compass, the Peugeot 3008, the Range Rover Evoque, and the Range Rover Velar. The mechanics warning you off these 8 consistently point toward the same alternatives: Toyota RAV4, Mazda CX-5, Honda CR-V, Hyundai Tucson, Subaru Forester. Japanese and Korean engineering with transparent parts, pricing, and independent workshops that can service them without proprietary software just to change the brake pads. If you have owned one of these vehicles, or you are currently looking at one, drop it in the comments. Give it a like if it helped. Subscribe for straight-talking Aussie car advice with no badge loyalty and no sponsorship. Drive safe, and before you sign anything, ask an independent mechanic what they think of it first.